Hi, this is a pre-production update done by me, and this was a project done in collaboration with Brock, the guy with the arrow pointing at his face, and I, who doesn't have X's on mine. We did a horror film after deciding on what our film would be. Um, Essentially, we wanted it to be a lot of different things and finally had settled out on a very specific idea, and from that we had to really work on the evolution and the fruition of this whole project. To do so, we had to set out a plan, and that meant that we had to determine the plot, we had to script it, and then we had to film it. And currently we are on the 4-week track to edit the film to be fantastic and beautiful. The pre-production, well, we had to do a lot of talking and debate on what the plot would be. We finally settled on this idea where a psycho killed his wife. I wrote the script and decided on the cinematography. I was more the visual person, the creative person, I suppose. I mean, Brock is creative, but in different ways. And Brock worked on the sound in music. And the next part entails editing, which we'll both contribute towards. Brock's still working with the music, so it's just kind of a work in progress. My responsibilities, well, I worked on the scripting, and I had to ask the question, are there any discrepancies when it came to collaborating with Brock if we had differences in opinions on some things, such as like the script if I took it in a different direction. I also figured out who and how this was going to happen. I was the general organizer of the whole situation, kind of. I also brought outfits, organized outfits, brought and made food, made sure everything was going to schedule because that was really important working with several people. And I also revised scripts to be more natural as we filmed. We had to make them as concise as possible to fit within the time limit. And I realized after having written the original draft, they're really awkward sometimes, so that was definitely a necessity as we were filming. The joint responsibilities we had, we would decide on who would best portray the characters, such as our friends. We knew some people at the school who were a part of the drama club, and we'd ask them to see if they were interested, and they were, so they worked with us. We also organized the cast and crew together from our friends. We called up people, asked them if they'd be available during the break time when we'd be shooting. We had to figure out the setting, which was a pain in the butt because we had to call a lot of people and see if people had available empty houses. And finally, we got a A-OK signed from Sabrina, who owns the Rossberg house, which it was really lovely of her to let us borrow that for a few days and kind of run it over. We also had to choose equipment necessary for the task. I have a DSLR camera that can film, and so does Magnus, who was part of the crew. So we both used our cameras, and we had a lot of lighting and sound booms and just important things like that, like tripods. We had to make a lot of creative decisions to see how the plot and where the plot would be going. Um, it was just something that really that's what collaborating is, and I guess that was something that we both had to learn, that we would have differences and we'd have to kind of compromise what our vision is. And finally we're on the post-production at Jazz, and we had to upload all of the film and kind of see like how it all pan out together, um, which was good. But the issues that we did deal with was the creative vision. We definitely had to compromise. That was probably the main issue with collaborating in the first place. And we have limited resources, time, and some of our goals were unattainable because we don't have the skills or the knowledge to do exactly what we were anticipating. Um, we have to make sure things are feasible before we actually, attempt them. The setting of house was a blessing, but it's really important to make sure it's really evident and clear who and how you're filming. Setting boundaries with the cast and crew and organizing the set was really important, I realized, and making sure there was just everything stayed the same as it was when we were filming as when we didn't film. The time was important because we had to work around a lot of people's schedules, and filming only panned out during break, and this meant that we had to make sure there was a few days of time that we were super productive and that were well spent. Finally, this is production. This is what we have filmed. Just a few shots. They just kind of show what things we've done. I do want to note that they're not representative of what we did entirely. We have a lot more that we did end up filming. These are what I'm willing to show you at the moment. Okay, and the post-production, that's just to be announced. We have not done that, and I will see you in 4 weeks about that. But what we have learned so far was how to make fake blood. We had to consider what shots and what people were going to say beforehand, and impromptu speech is always a bad idea, almost always. Sometimes it worked out, most of the time it didn't. So therefore, scripts were very, very important, and I recognized that after the first time shooting. So um, that is something I will do in the future if ever making a film. Just either not have dialogue or make it very natural and very, um, just very concise, especially if you're working within a time frame. Things I would change, I would have drunk a lot of more coffee so I would not get so frustrated with the filming process. And I'd also kind of get someone else to be the person to yell, I suppose, because I'm kind of introverted and I don't like yelling. We'd also think of more unique shots and a lot of filler shots. As I'm doing the post production right now, I just realized how much nicer it'd be if we had a lot of like, um, just kind of like empty shots for just for cinematography's sake, because it's just kind of boring to have one or two just different shots of just them head on. And right now, this is like, for example, what we've done so far in post production. We're working with Final Cut, and so I hope to see you in 4 weeks. It'll be the end, and you'll be able to see our final product. Thank you for watching. Bye.